Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Buck? Here. Senator Daley? Here. Senator Hammond? Senator Lang? Here. Senator Pazina? Senator Scheibel? Here. Senator Stone? Here. Chair Spearman?
Here. Thank you, and please mark the other members present as they arrive. So first of all, I'll say it again, please turn your phones off or turn the sound down so as not to interrupt anyone. It's one of the housekeeping rules, and I think by now everyone knows that you can view or participate in person down south at Grant Sawyer. You can submit written comment, or you can go to the Legislator's Opinion website and submit your opinion. I'd like to remind everyone that pursuant to NRS 218.085, it is unlawful for anyone to knowingly submit or testify to facts that are not true before a legislative committee, and a person who knowingly does so is guilty of a misdemeanor, and myself or any member of the committee can ask you for supporting documentation. Again, we'll take phones. Thank you. Thank you. So now let's get started. We'll get started with Assembly Bill 124, Assemblywoman Hardy. The measure revises provisions governing the renewal of a license as an osteopathic physician or physician's assistant. Begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the Commerce and Labor Committee. My name is Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy, and I represent Assembly District 22 in Southern Nevada, and I thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 124 today. With me is Susan Fisher, Senior Vice President from McDonald-Carano, and she will help me present the bill and go through the bill. And I think Frank DiMaggio, do we have?
He won't be on
Okay,
today.
all right, so it'll just be Ms. Fisher with me today. Nevada statute requires all licensees of the Board of Osteopathic Medicine to submit proof of completion of statutory required continuing medical education, or CME. NRS 633.471 currently requires the board to audit no less than 1/3 of the applicants for license renewal. The Osteopathic Board has just 4 full-time employees, including the executive director, with 1 employee dedicated to licensing. Auditing 1/3 of the licensee's CMEs is very time-consuming and reveals that its licensees typically have a 98.8% compliance rate. Section 1, subsection 3 of AB 124 revises NRS 633.471 to remove the statutory audit of 1/3 of the licensee CME submittals and adds language allowing the board to determine what percentage of renewal applications should be audited for CME compliance. So now I'll turn it over to Ms. Fisher, and then we will answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Committee. First of all, I'd like to thank Assemblywoman Hardy for agreeing to introduce this bill for us. I'm always reluctant to say it's a very simple bill, but this is a really simple bill. You can see on page 2 of the bill, section 1.3, just a couple of words changed. We surveyed Susan Fisher with McDonald-Carano, for the record, speaking on behalf of Nevada State Board of Osteopathic Medicine. We surveyed other boards, particularly medical licensing boards, to find out how they confirm their continuing medical education credits, and most of them say that they didn't even have it in statute. We've had it in statute for a long time that we had to audit 1/3, up to no less than 1/3 of our members. That means calling them, asking them to submit proof of their CMEs, because our IT system that we have doesn't allow them to be able to submit them electronically, the proof of the CMEs. So as we look to streamline our processes, this was one way that we saw that we could streamline it and not use as much staff time. Most of the other boards shoot for about 10%. We'd like to lower our percentage so that we don't need to do 1/3. We currently have close to 22, I think it's 2,200, almost 2,200 licensees so that's a fair amount of licensees to have to pull out to cover if we do 1/3 of them. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Senator Stone and then Senator Daly.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. It's funny that we're hearing this bill now because I'm in the process of actually not renewing my pharmacy license in another state. I'm actually on April the 30th going to be putting my license on ice, and I'm basically going to be retiring after 42 years of being a practicing pharmacist. But what's interesting in California, and I always hate to keep saying California, but sometimes there's some good things that they do there, and there's some bad things that they do there. But one of the things that happens when we do our license is that it electronically gets transmitted to the Board of Pharmacy. And so they don't have to have tremendous amounts of staff overseeing over 5,000 pharmacists that are licensed, not necessarily all practicing, but through just running a very simple program, you quickly understand who has fulfilled those requirements and who has not fulfilled those requirements, and therefore you don't have to hire all these people, and I understand the workload that's associated with it. So I think your bill is a good bill, but I'm hoping as my tenure here hopefully will remain for a while that maybe we can somehow organize an electronic database that requires those that provide CE education to report to that database that the board can have access to, which is going to streamline your auditing processes and make things a lot more a lot easier and less expensive. And I know that it works because I had gone to a State Board of Pharmacy meeting, and you get credit for doing that. And I didn't submit that proof of education to the State Board, and I got a letter from the State Board saying, Mr. Stone, you only completed 28 hours of 30 hours. You need to provide us proof. And obviously, if you didn't do the 30 hours and you swear on your license under perjury that you did complete those hours, then you could have a problem. So, I mean, I remedied it by saying, oh, yeah, I forgot to send the application to the State Board that put these promulgated these rules didn't electronically report to this central clearinghouse. So I just throw the idea out there. I think it not only could benefit the osteopathic board, but maybe even the medical board of examiners, the nursing boards, if they all can get involved in this database idea. I think it could save probably a lot of boards a lot of money where they can focus more on enforcement and educating their members. But does anything like that exist in Nevada at all? To you, Ms. Fisher.
If I may, Madam Chair, to Senator Stone.
And just go to red. Go to red.
Thank you. I'm not certain if the others are able to submit electronically or not. Our system just doesn't allow that yet at this time, and it is an expensive fix. So we're hoping to do some upgrades, but it's going to be a while probably before we can get that done. Thank you.
Well, just one follow-up. It also allows the board to go into the database to check and see if somebody is if somebody's delinquent in their hours. But I just throw it out there just as a possibility for future ideas for legislation. But.
Senator Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quick, I think you already answered the question. You're going to shoot for 10%, but it could be more, it could be less. So the system is set up in kind of an honor system because you don't check everybody, but if you do get checked, so you guys just have like a random pool. How do you select? Do you make sure you don't get the same guy every time, or is it just truly a random selection?
Thank you for the question, Senator. It is a random select that they do, and it is on the honor system. They attest to, and it's in our statute that when the licensees submit their renewals, they attest to having completed the CMEs. Thank you.
Additional questions? Any other presenters? Okay. We step back. We'll open up the public testimony in support of Assembly Bill 124. Anybody here in Carson City? Don't see anyone moving to the table down south. BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 124, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Nobody? My desk buddy was talking to me, so.
One moment, Chair. One moment.
All right, thank you. So we'll move now to those in opposition of Assembly Bill 124. Oh, you got somebody? Okay. Proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Dylan Keith, DYLANKEITH, with the Vegas Chamber. We do come in support of this measure today. We believe that it will open up more opportunities to retain current doctors and will definitely help to fix the doctor shortage that we are seeing in Nevada currently. We are in strong support of this measure, and we do ask for your favor as well. Thank you so much for your time.
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to those in opposition. Assembly Bill 124 here in Carson City. See no one moving to the table in Las Vegas. BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in opposition to AB 124, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Anyone here testifying neutral? Anyone testifying neutral here or in Las Vegas? Seeing no one. BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 124, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Hardy, you, Vice President Fisher, want to come back and close out? Okay.
I just want to say thank you for hearing the bill, and that concludes our presentation. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to either of us. Thank you.
Thank you. So I didn't have a question, but I did have, and I don't know if this is even feasible, but perhaps in the meantime, while you're upgrading the system, perhaps there's a way that you can schedule text or schedule emails when you do that randomly, so it would let everybody know. I mean, something like that, because I think what you're doing, the staff time that you use to get this done is probably better used doing something else. So, just a thought. Just a thought. Okay. All right, so we'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 124 and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 284, sponsored by Assemblywoman Kasama. The measure authorizes the business of a mortgage company to be conducted from a remote location under certain circumstances. Begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. It's my pleasure to be here bright and early. I'd like to present Assembly Bill 284 to all of you, and I represent, again for the record, my name is Assemblywoman Heidi Kasama, representing District 2, Las Vegas area, and proud to be here with my co-sponsors as well. I was approached to carry Assembly Bill 284 to help modernize the mortgage lending industry. This bill allows for remote work for mortgage loan originators. As the country and the mortgage lending industry have emerged from the height of the pandemic, 34 states have now permanently authorized remote work for loan originators. Mortgage lending companies now have the resources, policies, and procedures to interact with customers and manage regular compliance from anywhere. During the pandemic from March of 2020 to the end of June 2021, Nevada mortgage loan originators were allowed to work from home. This bill will simply permit that practice and statute, and it includes parameters to ensure that Nevadans and their information are safe and secure while providing them with a more flexible and convenient process. I will now hand this over to Chelsea Kapoor from the Griffin Company and Anna Boone from Zillow, who is on the world with us here on Zoom someplace. There she is, to provide some additional context and help answer any questions the committee may have about the bill.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Vice Chair Lang, members of the committee. For the record, Chelsea Capurro here on behalf of Zillow. We want to thank Assemblywoman Kasama for sponsoring this bill and the committee for taking the time to hear this important issue today. As we all know, COVID has changed the world we operate in, and some of those changes have truly helped modernize our day-to-day life. This bill is a perfect example of that, and I will now pass this over to Anna Boone, who is coincidentally enough joining us remotely.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good morning, Chair Spearman, Vice Chair Lang, and members of the committee. I'm Anna Boone. I'm the Senior Manager of Government Relations for Zillow Group covering the Western U.S. Thank you for your time today and for accommodating me here on Zoom. The bill before you, AB 284, would enable a more seamless real estate experience for Nevadans by authorizing mortgage loan originators to work remotely. As Assemblywoman Kasama mentioned in her opening remarks, there are now 34 states that have permanently authorized remote work for loan originators. Permanent authorization of remote mortgage loan origination, RMLO, will allow mortgage loan originators to be more responsive and available to Nevada home shoppers by utilizing the location flexibility technology now enables. Currently, mortgage loan originators, call them MLOs, are required to conduct business from licensed branch locations. This limits their ability to respond to home buyers outside of core business hours or when they're away from the office. Technology and consumer expectations have evolved over the last several years, accelerated by the pandemic. During the pandemic and the associated stay-at-home orders, the mortgage lending industry, in partnership with regulators, adapted its operations to facilitate remote work in order to deliver critical financial services to consumers. This shift demonstrated that the mortgage industry can operate safely, efficiently, and effectively in a digital remote environment. Permanent remote work for mortgage loan originators modernizes the mortgage lending industry to the benefit of consumers, employees, and employers. Consumers experience a more convenient process as loan originators are able to respond to inquiries and provide updates outside of business hours without having to commute into an office to do so. Employees are able to access the flexibility many other industries already provide, and mortgage lenders are more easily able to recruit and retain talented MLOs. By making RMLO permanent, Nevada will enable a more seamless, convenient real estate transaction for its residents. In addition to authorizing remote work, this bill includes protections such as prohibiting an employee from interacting with a customer in person at their residence, the residence of the employee. It also prohibits the maintenance of physical records at a remote location. And finally, Section 1 of this bill gives full authority to the Commissioner of Mortgage Lending of the Mortgage Lending Division to adopt regulations governing the business of a mortgage company at the remote location. Thank you so much for your consideration of this bill, and I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you. We've got Vice Chair Lang.
Good morning. I think you told me this when I met with you, but how many states are currently doing remote work since COVID?
For the record, Chelsea Capurro, there are currently 34.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Scheibel and then Senator Daley.
Thank you. This is more of a general question about mortgage licensing because this is not my field. And so I'm reading 645B.020, which is our mortgage lender licensing statute. And I'm just trying to understand whether a company like Zillow, since Zillow is here, has to get licensed in every single state where they do business, or whether they are able to interact with Nevada customers through some other licensing scheme.
For the record, Chelsea Capurro, I'm going to pass this over to Anna to answer.
Thank you. For the record, Anna Boone, Zillow Group. It is correct that mortgage lending companies and mortgage loan originators need to be licensed in each state where they do business.
Senator Daley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And along those lines, when you're talking about the remote location, so it can be anywhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this state. So if they're doing loans in this state, but the remote location's out of state, do they have to be licensed in both states, even if they're not doing work in the separate state? And I have a follow-up when you're done.
Anna, do you want to get that?
Sure. Yep. Again, Anna Boone, Zillow Group. I'm tracking your question correctly. Yes, they can be working in another state and licensed to work in Nevada. I will just highlight this bill is not changing the requirement that mortgage companies maintain licensed branch locations in Nevada. Rather, it is just allowing them to conduct work outside of that licensed branch location. So there still is a requirement that that a licensed branch be maintained here.
Chelsea Capro for the record. And I will add as well, there's the provision in there that the mortgage lending division can put in regulations. I imagine that they would put in something around working from a secure server, making sure that they're not, at a public computer doing this type of work. But I'm sure that's something that they will be handling through the regs.
I'd like to add some context too, if I might. If you just go back 5 years or so, a person that wanted to get a loan would actually walk into the lender's office, and they would bring their stack of their tax returns and proof of their income and all of this sensitive information. That's why originally these laws were founded, because people had to go into these offices with this sensitive information. Now the world has changed. Now we have the clients upload their tax returns themselves. They scan them in, they put it on the website. They don't have to go into the offices. If for some reason they were still to bring sensitive documents in a physical form, then it has to be brought into the office location. That is still on record here with the lending industry. But the world has changed. Now it's all pretty much done online. They open up their laptop, they can meet them in a coffee shop, they can be at their home. So it's just keeping the regulations up with what we actually, are practicing now.
One follow-up, thank you. So I think I got the answer on that, but then I think you said one thing which was in relation to my second question. So the provision says that they can't interact if they were going to interact with somebody. They can't interact at their residence. So is there an anticipation that there may be in a remote location, but interact with them at an office space, or I think you said a coffee shop? And just shouldn't there, if you're going to do the remote location, you should have to, if you're going to do in person, you should have to go to the main office or wherever it is rather than the remote location. Right now, the prohibition only says the person's resident. I'm just curious if you think that's an issue, or maybe your person down south can answer.
Anna, do you want to take this?
Be happy to. Again, for the record, Anna Boone, Zillow Group. The intention here is not to dramatically change the ways that folks are interacting with their loan originators currently, given the fact that this is authorizing that remote work and that work from home to happen. We thought it was important to include in the bill the prohibition on meeting at an MLO's residence. But really the intent here is to allow those MLOs to do things like, let's say, verify that someone's documents have been uploaded correctly, or respond to a customer about the status of their application after hours, maybe after dinner or on a weekend, whereas currently they would need to be physically in their office to do so. But, the intent is not to change where folks are able to currently interact with their MLOs, whether that's at an office or standing on the sideline of a sports game or, whatnot. Hopefully that answers your question.
Senator Pazina, then Senator Stone.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you very much for the presentation. I absolutely believe in modernization, and I'm just curious along those lines, what percentage, and I'm not holding you to an exact number, but I'm just curious, what percentage of people still want to meet in person these days and don't want to do this remotely?
Anna, do you know?
And again, Anna, for the record, Anna Boone, Zillow Group. I don't, from Zillow's perspective, we are focused on delivering that seamless online transaction for the customers who seek it. We also, know that many people are, wanting to have that in-person interaction. I do not have any data that shows kind of where that falls. But the goal with this bill is that it's providing that flexibility for the entire industry, again, without doing away with the ability to meet folks in person.
I can just add, I'm part of a large real estate organization in Las Vegas, and we have a lender there. And he, he can be there a lot of the time and working with people on the phone and his computer, but it's not that often I see people actually coming in and sitting with them. A lot of it is on the phone and through the computer.
Thank you. And that's what I would imagine. I know when I've either refinanced or financed a new loan, I've done everything over the phone remotely. So I was just curious. Thank you.
Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Being a real estate professional like my fellow colleague here, we like to embrace technology and make things easier on our customers. Just to kind of piggyback on my colleague to my right's concerns, I just want to be sure that the information, which can be very sensitive, Social Security numbers, income, dependents, that is well protected through VPNs, I guess, if you will, and that people aren't using their private servers that can be hacked, and now you've got people's financial information out there. So I'd just like some reassurance on that. And then because we're kind of streamlining the process, and this is not the only industry that's discovered that, my gosh, we don't need to come in the office to get things done, and sometimes we get things done more efficiently when we allow employees to work at home. One big cost that consumers have is origination costs, right? So because it streamlines the process, are you seeing, and this might be directed to the Zillow rep, are you finding that the cost to the consumer can be less by utilizing these remote scanning, technologically advanced processes for processing applications?
For the record, Chelsea Capurro, let me answer that first part of that question, and then I'll pass it over to Anna to answer the second part. So I think to make sure in the bill itself, it says the commissioner shall adopt regulations, and one of the things that they have to include are requirements for keeping and maintenance of complete and suitable records of all mortgage transactions. So I think I'm hoping that would address your concerns about the secure data, making sure that, home buyers' information isn't sitting out in their home, printed out, or to your point about a secure server. The Mortgage Lending Division has to promulgate regulations around this and what that would look like. And there are parameters in here that direct them to include some of those
And if I might
pieces.
just follow up on one thing that you said, it may not necessarily just be Social Security numbers, but it could be just data. And I want to make sure that any company that is doing this underwriting can't sell data to a third party without the express permission of the one that's borrowing the money. I don't know if that's in your bill, but I hope it's something that you might consider.
For the record, Chelsea Capurro, it's not currently in here, but I'm guessing it's already something that they're not allowed to do, but we'll look into that. We'll have conversations with Mortgage Lending Division. I know they were here on the Assembly side. I don't know if they're here today, but
here
if they're...
in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay,
I think the
great.
commissioner's in Las Vegas.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. They can answer much better than I can.
Okay.
Good morning, this is Kathy Sheehy, Commissioner from the Mortgage Lending Division. Could you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes, thank you for being here. I expressed a concern about the security of the information that is going to be transmitted online, and I've already received a comfort level that a person's financial information will be kept confidential, but I also want to make sure that their information, other information, is not going to be sold, let's say, to a home warranty company that says, hey, we got somebody got a loan here, why don't you just give them a pitch for a home warranty? I just want to make sure that all of their data is going to be protected and can only be released upon a release by the one that's actually seeking the loan.
Thank you for the question. That would be more of a company policy. We wouldn't necessarily, and I don't want to say enforce, but we would have the company follow their own policy and procedures about privacy, data security, and what they share and don't share. Zillow might be able to answer this better, where as a company they have policies and disclosures that they have to provide the consumer at the time that they share this information with the entity, ensuring that the consumer understands how and when this information is shared.
I appreciate that answer, but I think it should be the state that's driving the process, not the one that's giving the loans when it comes to origination. And so, to me, protection of personal data is very, very important. And so I would encourage the author, if possible, is to put some language in there saying that any information that is provided in a loan application that not necessarily is financial information, but demographic information, phone numbers, cannot be sold to a third party without the express written consent of the person seeking the loan.
Anna, did you want to comment on that?
Yes, thank you. Again, for the record, Anna Boone, Zillow Group. Appreciate that feedback. I will go back and have some conversations internally to make sure I'm giving you the most accurate answer, and would be happy to follow up. I did want to go back to the questions around data security. It is standard practice in the industry and certainly at Zillow to ensure that all communications with customers, including phone calls, text messages, are taking place through a secure encrypted platform. So that includes the VPN login and and other kind of security measures to ensure that that is not something that would be easily accessible to someone who grabs the device. We did want to ensure that this bill included the flexibility and empowered the commissioner to make rules and ensure that we are meeting the highest standards possible, and that that's applied to the industry at large. That is a priority for us at Zillow, and certainly for the industry, to ensure that all of this information is kept secure and that we're maintaining the trust of consumers throughout the process.
And I might add, before you do any loan application, there's always a disclosure that you are agreeing to that your information can be used for the loans, and so there's usually quite a lengthy disclosure for each loan application that says where your information is and what it's being used in. But however, if it's not clear enough or good enough, then perhaps that's a bill you and I can carry together next time.
Additional questions? So I just have a couple. So when I was at the Pentagon, we had two computers, the red side and the other side, and you couldn't cross over information. So will the employees that are working remotely be restricted to having those conversations, those electronic conversations on a separate computer? Because a lot of times that's a lot better than commingling with your personal computer. Is that something that you all had thought about doing? And the other thing about that is that when you do that, it's also a way to keep track of not just the activity for that particular transaction, but I heard you say they can't show up at somebody's house, but it also helps you to keep to manage disaggregated and aggregated data, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely. I might, and Anna, you can chime in too. I think, the other thing, and I think that's a company policy. I don't think that's dictated by any statute. That's a company policy, how people want to handle that. But these programs are not desk-based or computer-based programs. Pretty much all these programs now, and Anna, you can correct me, but they're web-based. So everything is on the web now. So it's not necessarily in your computer, so to speak, the way perhaps some of the programs were before. Would you like to comment on that, Anna, as well?
Sure. Yep. Again, Anna Boone, Zillow Group. That's exactly correct. I will say at Zillow, we issue company devices for company work. These are web-based platforms that are, capturing that employee contact. This bill requires that each company have that security plan in place. I think that this is something that we can also look at through the rulemaking process with feedback from other members of the industry, that the commissioner might want to include something around the commingling of devices in the rulemaking. So thank you for that feedback.
Commissioner Sheehy? We're talking about separating personal computers and company computers. And even though I understand the web-based, I got a letter the other day that said somebody had, breached some other companies and my information was there. And so I'm thinking that, and I know that the web base is different, but I'm thinking what other measures, because as Senator Stone said, you have people's social security number in there, and a number of other things, where do you work and that sort of thing, and it only takes 2 or 3 things that are usually compartmented, but once they come together, someone has a sense of who you are and other information. So I'm wondering about, there's that layer thing. Is it transport layer security or something like that? It's supposed to be expanded from SSL to TSL. So I'm thinking, is there anything that you can do or that has been done? And to the commissioner, do we need to include that as part of the legislation? I get, doing things online. Easter, I was at my fiance's church and I did communion. Those that were in the building, they received communion. Those who were watching was virtual. So I get that. I'm just trying to make sure that there's not an unintended consequence. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you for the question, Chairwoman Spearman. We'd be glad to talk to the stakeholders, and also we, as indicated by both parties, we will be looking at promulgating the regulations so we can include anything that's necessary and should be included.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could just point out in Section 5, well, first of all, in 4, it says any physical records of a mortgage company must not be maintained at a remote location. So that definitely, sorry, Assemblywoman Heidi Kasama. Thank you. I thought that was a breeze coming through, sorry. And then it does direct the commissioner, and as she's spoken, to have the regulations for the security and safety, if you look at Section 5A. So it does direct the commissioner to maintain those regulations.
Okay, thank you. And I already asked our legal to look at it. I know that the dreaded state of California has something like that, and when you put in your in any type of application, once you put CA down there, then there's this thing that I don't want my information sold. So, additional questions? Okay. You have any other presenters? Okay, that's it. All right, so let's open up public testimony. Those in favor, please come forward. Don't see anyone moving. Someone's going down south? Okay.
I'm here in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir. Begin when you're ready. In support?
Yeah, my name is Al Rojas. I live in Assembly District 12. I own real estate. I'm a real estate investor, and I come from a real estate family. Although this sounds very good, I am in favor, but however, with the provisions that you have more data security. I can testify that on 2 instances, I felt that my personal information was breached. At one time in California, I was applying for a loan, and for however, I don't know how it happened, but another lender contacted me. They had my social security number, they had the application, and they had a better deal or another deal, which is I found like, how did that happen? And if that selling the information is an issue, that's a problem. Another time I was applying for a loan, and I had an outstanding balance on my tax returns. Somebody in India got a hold of my tax returns and was claiming to have an American or a Caucasian surname. I mean, I hate to be that direct, but that's what happened, and they wanted me to send money. I called the IRS. They told me it was fraud. So security, when you apply for a loan, it's scary because your information is out there. Your social security number is out there. And I personally, would like some provisions in there that you cannot use your personal computer, that it has to be a system on a network, and there has to be security, and you can't be selling the information to other people because of the fact that most of these real estate people, they have a lot of money. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of data involved, and one bad transaction could wipe you out. So please take that into consideration. And I want to thank Senator Stone for his testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Las Vegas? Don't see anyone moving to the table here. BPS, anyone on the lines?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 284, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Excuse me, whoever's on the phone, can you get closer to the receiver, or BPS, can we amplify that?
Can you hear me?
Caller 699, go ahead.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Michael Stidham here, Director of Regulatory Affairs for Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage appreciates the opportunity this morning to offer testimony in support of the proposed amendments to the Nevada revised statutes, which would set forth the conditions by which licensed mortgage loan originators, MLOs, may work from a remote location. Under Nevada's current statute, mortgage licensees are required to establish a branch location anywhere MLOs conduct mortgage loan origination activity, even in MLO's home. Again, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, many states, including Nevada, provided guidance and or codified remote work standards into their laws and or regulations. This modernization of mortgage lending requirements allowed mortgage companies to continue to provide important financial services to consumers during the pandemic. By codifying the standards for permissible remote work, MLOs can be available to assist consumers during future unforeseen events. Mortgage lender licensees are operating under this remote work model in many states already, as noted, while also ensuring compliance with applicable federal, state, and local laws. This bill establishes specific standards for remote work that are in use in multiple other states, which are also expressly supported by the American Association of Residential Mortgage Regulators, otherwise known as ARMOR, to facilitate remote work. These standards will provide consistency among licensees and will reduce the need for the department to examine residential branches. Moreover, this amendment streamlines the regulatory process for the department and ensures that consumer protections are maintained no matter where MLO activity occurs. So in sum, we appreciate the committee's leadership on this matter. Remote work is critical for the modernization of mortgage licensing, and the standards set forth support Rocket Mortgage's constant desire to ensure consumer ease, protection, and proper mortgage activity oversight.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So I have one. You said amendment, and my question is this an amendment that has been accepted by the sponsor, or is this an amendment that you're suggesting?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I did not hear the question. Could you possibly repeat?
So I believe I heard you say this amendment would do, and so my question is this an amendment that you have discussed with the sponsor, or is this an amendment that you are suggesting?
No, we're in alignment with the sponsor on this. We are in support.
Okay. All right. Thank you, because I don't discuss amendments unless the person has talked to the sponsor. So thank you, sir. Anyone else, BPS? Anyone else on the phones?
Thank you.
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, we'll now go to those in opposition. Opposition of Assembly Bill 284. Don't see anyone moving to the table here or in Las Vegas. BPS, anyone on the phones?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Going to those in neutral. Anyone neutral? And BPS, anyone on the phones?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. Assemblywoman, you want closing comments? Oh, I think we have a question by Senator Hammond.
If I might ask a question before you end your testimony, I share similar concerns to some of the things you've heard about making sure we're not selling data, and and I think it does need to be state-led. So it'd be nice to see something like that in there. But the other concerns about data security, the other part of that is if you're really concerned about it, there's nothing in this bill that prohibits anybody from doing it in person. I mean, they can still do it in person. You still have a branch. I guess I'm just going to want to get confirmation to make sure that people understand that, if you're not ready to enter into that new world of doing everything online and you still want to go in and meet the person and hand them the paperwork, you can still do that, right?
Yes, there is still a branch location, and the mortgage company is required to have that in the state of Nevada with their license. So the commissioner's gone, but she could confirm that as well. But yes, you can still go in and sit down and meet with your loan officer and have a face-to-face as well. So, and in general, I would say with all of this goes for, frankly, any industry. We could make this question bigger as far as safety and selling of data. Because so much of our world now is with online and talking to people, and so that's a broader question of how we do that. But the bill here does give the commissioner the authority and the regulation to, promulgate what they feel are the safety measures. But I assure you, I think it's a concern for all of us with our industry and how this data is being used on the internet and the web.
I think I just wanted to ask that because sometimes when we go down a certain road, when we're talking and having these meetings, sometimes people will listen in and think that we're closing off that avenue, and for young folks like myself, we embrace all the technology and everything like that. But some folks are just kind of like, hey, I'd rather go in and do it like I always done, and make sure that that's there. And I wanted to make sure I said that out loud and have you guys confirm that. So thank you.
Assemblywoman Heidi Kasama, for the record, absolutely. They still have the opportunity to meet with people in person.
Chelsea Capro for the record, and as we mentioned earlier, 34 states are doing this, so we're happy to take a look at what other states have done. There may be some that have some good provisions related to data security and safety of consumers' data, and we'll take a look at that.
Thank you. And to my colleague to the right, with respect to Young, NRS 218E-285. It's okay.
I believe young is a state of mind, and I think I'm not 66 yet, so I'm not drawing Social Security yet. So I think I'm good. I think I've meet that threshold that you gave out.
Okay.
Well, Assemblywoman Heidi Kasama, I'd like to say I'm challenged by some of the remotes in my home too. So, so it all goes along. But I just wanted to thank everybody again for allowing us to present this important bill for modernizing our industry. Not only this industry, but the others have changed after the pandemic and how much of the business is being done. And I'm sure there'll be many more bills along this line with other industry and areas. And so I just appreciate everybody's listening to us this morning and your support on this bill to help modernize the lending industry. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 248 and open up the hearing on Assembly Bill 343, first revision. Assemblyman Miller? And you all please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for having me for my very first bill hearing this session in the Senate. It's exciting. For the record, I am C.H. Miller, and I represent Assembly District 7 in Clark County. I am here today to present Assembly Bill 343, which revises provisions relating to the Board of Occupational Therapy. A little background: occupational therapists are licensed healthcare professionals who help patients maximize their quality of life. They work with people of all ages with various health issues to adapt to surroundings and tasks to help people live better with disabilities, injuries, or illnesses. Occupational therapists work in many different settings, such as clinics, hospitals, nursing facilities, and home health. In Nevada, the Board of Occupational Therapy licenses and regulates OTs and OT assistants. This measure makes several changes to the board's law, including issuing a license by reciprocity, a provisional license, or a temporary license, issuing a citation to a licensee who commits certain violations of the provisions of existing law governing occupational therapy, revises the qualifications for a person to obtain a license as an OT or an OT assistant, and provides for a salary for the board members. I have with me today Ms. Loretta Ponton, Executive Director of the Board of Occupational Therapy. She'll be able to provide additional details about the bill, as well as answer any of the hard questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Loretta Ponton, the Executive Director for the Board of Occupational Therapy. Thank you for hearing our bill this morning. This bill really has two primary purposes. The first being a need to eliminate barriers to licensure. Along that line, we are establishing licensure reciprocity in Nevada for individuals residing and licensed in a member state of the Occupational Therapy Licensure Compact. After holding meetings and public workshops soliciting stakeholder input into the board, the board is embracing a tiered strategy preparatory to joining the Occupational Therapy Licensure Compact. Section 2 of this bill is the first step by providing reciprocity to occupational therapy practitioners who reside in a state that is a member of the OT Compact. The OT Compact was ratified in 2022 with the initial 10 states joining the compact. Currently, there are 23 states who have passed legislation as members of the compact. The first organizational meeting of the Compact Commission was held in August of 22. The organizational structure, staffing, database, rules, fees, and reporting requirements remain to be determined. The first compact privilege to practice through the OT Compact is slated for 2024, after the structure and the rules have been finalized. The availability of reciprocity will provide baseline data for determining the impact of compact privileged practice on the availability of services, numbers of individuals seeking a license in Nevada from compact states who potentially would be eligible for a compact privilege, and potential fiscal impact to the board. The board will continue to monitor the implementation of the OT Compact to determine whether to recommend legislation to join the compact at a future session. There currently is not enough solid information on the requirements, financial obligations, and impacts it may have on Nevada. Currently, licensure by endorsement remains available for out-of-state applicants, and expedited license with reduced fees for military, veterans, and spouses is available through our current NRS 640 provisions. Second point of our legislation would be to establish national certification and testing standards for licensure eligibility, referencing Section 8 of the bill. The National Board for Certification in Occupational Therapy certifies qualified occupational therapy practitioners. Current NBCOT certification is required for licensure in Nevada. The Nevada jurisprudence exam is required of new applicants for licensure. The examination is web-based, accessible on the board's website at no cost, and is the only, quote, state-required element of license applications. Section 8 establishes the eligibility criteria for licensure in Nevada as national certification by the National Board for Certification in Occupational Therapy, and passage of the Nevada Jurisprudence Examination on Nevada state law and regulations. NBCOT has established criteria for eligibility for testing and certification, which includes graduation from educational programs accredited by the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy. NBCOT evaluates applicants' transcripts, including foreign educated applicants, to ensure educational requirements are met to take the certification examination. Stringent eligibility and examination criteria are established by NBCOT to obtain national certification in occupational therapy, eliminating duplication at the state level, thereby furthering the elimination of barriers to licensure. Our legislation also creates a provisional license to practice under the supervision of a licensed occupational therapist for individuals in the process of obtaining their national certification to align with the national testing and licensure eligibility requirements in Section 3. A new graduate, when determined eligible to take the examination, will be able to enter the workforce immediately. A new graduate licensee must be under the supervision of a licensed occupational therapist and must pass the national certification examination within 1 year. Secondary purposes and need for this legislation are administrative in nature. First is to establish criteria for administrative citations for certain violations, remedial action, and administrative fines. That's in Section 4. Currently, all violations, whether administrative or practice-related, must be handled through the formal complaint and disciplinary action process. The ability to issue citations and fines will expedite resolution in a cost-effective manner for both the board and the practitioner in resolving administrative violations, such as updating their legal name, contact information, displaying their license, or providing proof of continuing education. Secondly, we would like to authorize a salary for our board members who have been serving without compensation, consistent with and at the same rate as other regulatory boards. That's in Section 7. The board is funded solely by licensure fees and receives no funding from the state general fund. The board has sufficient funding to cover the expenses related to board salary, estimated to be less than $6,000 a year. And lastly, we're making various changes to update language, making conforming revisions, and repealing various provisions that are duplicative or will no longer be the responsibility of the board with the adoption of national certification and eligibility standards. I do have a section-by-section summary. I would be happy to go over those with you or entertain any questions that you may have at this point.
Thank you. Questions? Committee? Senator Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think you answered the one, so we're not already in the compact, you're just potentially thinking about it, so I don't like compacts, but that's okay. Just for the record, right? So on the accreditation, and questions you always get asked, I'm sure, so the standards, we're not going to be undercutting the standards by recognizing the people, they're going to have the same, meet the same requirements of education, et cetera, that we already require. And then I know you mentioned a national certification. Right. Is that basically all the states use? Is that the only certification that's out there or that's been approved by the board?
Yes, that is the national standards, and all 50 states do use that certification process.
So everyone's going to be the same if you're recognizing someone through a reciprocity?
Correct.
Okay. And then the only other question was on the salary, not that I'm against people getting a salary. They were already getting a per diem. So how often do they meet? I think it said they have to meet at least twice a year. Do they meet by Zoom as well, or they actually go in person?
Loretta Ponton, for the record, to answer your question. We do hybrid meetings available by Zoom and in person. We have meetings quarterly. We are getting back to having at least one meeting per year in person. usually a planning session, go over where we've been and where we want to go for the next period of time. As far as the per diem, when they do travel, they receive reimbursement for travel expenses. They do not receive any type of reimbursement for their time, and that's what we're trying to address there. As you know, disciplinary cases can be very time-consuming and sometimes can take multiple days. These individuals have to take time off their work to attend and participate, and fortunately, I've had an excellent board, and they've been volunteering their time up until now, so we would like to compensate them minimally. Yes.
Additional questions? Okay. Y'all have any additional presenters? No? Okay. If you step back, we'll now open up the hearing on Assembly Bill 343. Those in support here in Carson City. Anyone in Las Vegas? See someone moving to the table? Las Vegas.
Yes, I do want to testify. My name is Al Rojas. I live in Assembly District 12. Although I am not a therapist, I support this bill. We need a lot more therapy. It may be a little bit of a stretch, but hopefully it can help with our homelessness problem. A lot of the people there are homeless because of health issues. They can't get back to work. Maybe it can help our K through 12. I'm hearing that a lot of those kids need therapy. They get into trouble. They get thrown out of school. They can't get back in, and it increases crime and homelessness. I'm a crusader to bring security to our neighborhood through law enforcement, to reduce homelessness, and to reduce crime in our schools. I think those are the biggest problems we have here in the state of Nevada, especially in Clark County and Washoe County. So I hope that the committee looks into how this could help our homeless problem and help our schools and help some of our policemen also need therapy because high suicide rate. So just look into that. Hopefully we can find a way that's going to help those problems that we have here. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Las Vegas? Don't see anyone coming to the table here. VP? No callers? Okay. We'll move now to those in opposition of Assembly Bill 343. Anyone down south? No one here. BPS? No callers?
Public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to those who are here in neutral. No one's approaching either table here or down south. Okay, thank you. Assemblyman, you want to come back? I'm sorry, Assemblyman, you want to come back? And any closing remarks?
Just want to say thank you for your time this morning, and I urge you to support this very important bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close. Oh, yes.
Just a comment, and for the record, that apparently Mr. Miller is anti-Denim Day. What's happening over there?
Assemblyman C.H. Miller for the record. So please don't hold that against me. I woke up this morning and forgot it was Denim Day. And when I got here, I realized it was Denim Day, but it was too late to turn around and fix that because I had to be in front of this very important committee. And I figured this work was what was most important. So thank you.
A occupational therapist might help you with that situation.
Now, you must have gotten the memo. Compliments get you a long way. So anyway. Okay, so we'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 343, and I see Assemblywoman Gonzalez. We'll now open up the hearing on Assembly Bill 163. This measure revises provisions governing employment. How's the doctorate coming along?
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cecilia Gonzalez, and I represent Assembly District 16. First and foremost, thank you so much for being flexible. It's just one of those days. And also, happy Denim Day. Sexual violence profoundly impacts a person's lifelong health, opportunity, and well-being. Sexual violence impacts every community and affects people from all genders, sexual orientations, and ages. It can affect many aspects of a survivor's life, including safety and health, to family and work situations. The trauma resulting from sexual violence can have an impact on a survivor's employment in terms of time off work, job loss, or being unable to work. This can have long-term effects on the economic well-being of survivors and their families. In 2017, the Nevada Legislature enacted legislation to require Nevada employers to provide leave to employees who are victims of domestic violence or whose family or household members are victims of domestic violence. Assembly Bill 163 would include such leave to employees or whose families or household members are victims of sexual assault. Now I'm going to walk through the bill. I also want to mention at this time that there is an amendment to make sure that sexual assault is in all areas of the statute. There was one section where it was missing, so that's what the amendment does. Assembly Bill 163 requires an employer to provide certain hours of leave to an employee who is a victim of sexual assault. And we're using the sexual assault definition of the Nevada Revised Statute 200.366. Section 1 of the bill authorizes an employee who has been employed by their employer for at least 90 days and is a victim of sexual assault or whose family or household member is a victim of sexual assault to use leave for certain purposes such as diagnoses, care, and treatment for a health condition related to the assault, obtaining counseling or assistance, participating in any court proceedings, and establishing a safety plan to increase the safety of the employee, family, or household member. An employee is not entitled to leave where a family or household member is the victim and that employee is the alleged perpetrator. An eligible employee may take up to 160 hours of leave within a 12-month period immediately following the date on which the assault occurred. Leave may be paid or unpaid and may be used consecutively or intermittently. Section 2 of the bill prohibits the administrator of the Employment Security Division of the Department of the Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation from denying a person unemployment compensation benefits if the administrator finds that the person left unemployment to protect him or herself or his or her family or household member from an act that constitutes as sexual violence and is actively engaged in persevering their employment. The administrator may request evidence from the person to support their claim of benefits, such as a police report, a doctor's note, things of those nature. Lastly, Section 3 of the bill requires an employer to provide reasonable accommodations for an employee who is a victim or survivor of sexual assault and or whose family member or household member is a victim or survivor. Potential accommodations include transferring or reassignments, modifying their schedule, new work phone numbers, or other reasonable accommodations that do not create an undue hardship and that are necessary to ensure the safety of the employee and the workplace. The employer may require documentation that supports the requests, as I've noted, such as a police report, a letter from their counselor or healthcare provider. And Section 4 prohibits the employer from conditioning the employment of an employee or prospective employee or taking certain employment actions because a person is a victim of sexual assault and or survivor in other circumstances that may be relating to the assault. At this time, with your permission, I would like to turn it over to my co-presenter, Ms. Evans.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Chair Spearman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Serena Evans, and I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Before I begin today, I do want to just acknowledge the importance of Denim Day and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So thank you, Senator Daley, for bringing that up earlier. For those of you who don't know, Denim Day originated in 1999 when an Italian judge ruled that because the victim's survivor's jeans were so tight, she must have assisted her perpetrator in taking them off, therefore consenting to her assault. The next day, all women of the Italian parliament came to work in their tightest denim, outraged in solidarity with the victim survivor. Today, we continue this tradition, and it truly is an honor to celebrate alongside all of you and present to you AB 163. While standing in solidarity is significant, as policymakers in this committee, you have the opportunity to pass meaningful legislation that will directly impact victim survivors. As the Assemblywoman mentioned, AB 163 builds upon the employee protections established by Senate Bill 361 during the 2017 legislative session. The original bill continues to be one of the most comprehensive for victim survivor employee protections. During the passage of the original bill, it was not intentional to leave out victim survivors of sexual assault, but rather because this type of legislation was so new, it really was just not thought of at the time. Nationally, 1 in 6 women and 1 in 33 men have experienced attempted or completed rape. Even more harrowing is that Nevada ranks 5th in the nation for sexual assaults, which yields a higher rate of sexual violence per capita. Each victim survivor's experience and reaction to sexual violence is personal and unique. Some may pursue criminal charges, others seek healing and comfort through counseling, and others find solace in working with a victim advocate. There is no right way to respond to sexual assault, but one common thing across the board is that healing takes time and resources, with many of these resources only being available during what we would consider normal business hours. Victim survivors of sexual assault are often pushed out of the workforce or penalized for needing to take time off following an assault. To paint a picture of what the aftermath of an assault might look like, here is a scenario. A victim survivor is assaulted by someone they know in their home. Following the immediate response of their attack, the victim survivor obtains a protection order against their perpetrator and seeks criminal actions. This requires that victim survivor to work with an advocate to submit a protection order application, meet with law enforcement for investigations, and potentially meet with a district attorney for investigations and court proceedings. Since the assault occurred in their home, they now have to work with an advocate to craft a well-thought-out safety plan, including moving. Additionally, the perpetrator did not use protection during the assault, so now the victim survivor has to be checked for STIs and HIV routinely. This particular victim survivor also notices that their mental health is severely impacted, and so they seek out a counselor to help with their healing. This scenario is the reality that many individuals face, and as you can see, it places a significant burden on victim survivors. The intent of this bill is to undo some of the burden and barriers placed upon victim survivors. We routinely hear that individuals cannot take time off of work to deal with these appointments, and as such, forego these critical services, or that they are forced out of their place of work for taking too much time off. Victim survivors should not have to suffer more than they already have. In addition to not further penalizing victim survivors, the Centers for Disease and Control states that access to economic support is one of the best ways to reduce victimization. Maintaining employment is essential for victim survivors to heal and live healthy and stable lives. Aside from taking time off, this bill also aims to provide reasonable accommodations for victim survivors of sexual violence and access to unemployment insurance. More often than not, sexual assaults are committed by someone that the victim survivor knows intimately. This means that the perpetrator may know where the victim survivor works and that employers must make reasonable accommodations for the safety of their employees. Unfortunately, sometimes perpetrators are relentless and a victim survivor may have to leave their job to protect themselves and their families. They should not have to suffer economic loss and instability due to the actions of another. Many of our systems place blame, shame, and guilt upon victim survivors. By adopting these small yet impactful changes in the state, we have the opportunity to show that we believe victim survivors, prioritize their well-being, and honor and respect their employment and financial self-sufficiency. I know all of us in this room love our great state, but we know all too well that we do not get to brag about leading the way. However, our existing policies are some of the most robust in the nation, and by expanding these employee protections to include victim survivors of sexual assault, Nevada will continue to lead the way. Chair Spearman, thank you for allowing us to present this today, and a special thank you for your continued advocacy and vocalization on this issue. I have listened to you share your story many times, and I always leave inspired. It is a true distinction to present this bill in your committee on such a monumental day, and at this time, we stand for any questions.
Thank you. Senator Scheibel?
Thank you so much. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how the bill, or how this statute, how it currently reads, just including domestic violence, has been utilized, if we have data, anecdotal or statistical on that.
Chair Spearman, through you to Senator Scheibel.
Just go direct.
Thank you. Senator Scheibel, great question. So I've reached out to the Department of Labor to try to get some data on how much this is being utilized. The bill does read that they can audit employers. To my understanding, there has not been an audit yet, so we don't have any concrete data. We do know that it is being used, probably not as much as we would like. I think a big part of this is also education, outreach to employers, outreach to businesses about how to stand up these policies in a trauma-informed way, as well as spreading education to our victim survivors. It does have to be posted on a bulletin in the workplace, so if someone were to be in their break room and read that bulletin, they would be aware of it.
Part of the reason I'm asking is that I'm just envisioning that a victim survivor wants to, avail themselves of the protections in the statute, and I could see a manager or employer not being versed in the law, and I'm hoping this isn't happening. So, and it doesn't really affect my vote on the bill. I'm just asking, since we're having the conversation, have you found in your experience that employers generally understand the purpose of the law and will allow people to take that leave? Are they asking for unreasonable proof, like, subpoenas or arrest reports or things like that? Or does the statute seem to be functioning as intended?
Serena Evans for the record. From what we've heard, we have not heard any horror stories of employers saying absolutely not or asking for unfair proof. In the bill, it does say that employers have to follow the confidentiality laid out in FMLA. So there is already some guidelines that give them, some policies and procedures to follow. So as far as we have heard, it's not creating horrible situations, and the coalition stands to be a resource, and I know we're hoping to do more outreach in the coming years of really making this a functional piece of legislation.
So we got one right. Yay. No, thank you. I do appreciate you expanding on that, and I think this is a good bill, and I look forward to working with you on it.
Assemblywoman Gonzalez, District 16. Thank you so much for that point, Senator Scheibel. I think it's a really important one because I think we also know that not every victim survivor reports or goes through the official processes. And so, I do hope that we are doing our duty in educating employers to not create more stress on a victim survivor. So thank you for mentioning that.
Additional questions? Yep. So I just have one. So a bill that's coming to your side, Senate Bill 363. I hope I have your support on that, and that's another tool that we can use. I think it's like 38% of all victims of domestic violence usually wind up homeless. And the other question that I have is, I know that up until about 4 or 5 years ago, Department of Defense did not do a good job with MST, military sexual trauma. So are you all doing anything to kind of track that? Are you working with the VA or anybody to try to make sure that military sexual trauma is really sexual assault by a superior or somebody that's, in the military? So.
Serena Evans for the record. First and foremost, big, huge yay to Senate Bill 363. We are in strong support of that bill. And yes, so the coalition has been working with the Nevada National Guard. They have a sexual assault response team, so we work closely with their advocates. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I know we just recently met with their team, and they have seen an increase in the number of reports being made, which is great because we know that these types of assault are happening, but they're not being reported. And so I think they're really standing up a strong procedure with the National Guard. So we've been working very closely with them, yes.
Hey, I might suggest Nevada Department of Veterans Services as well, because I'm pretty sure that there are some veterans who maybe go to, especially to the VA, looking for that. So I'm a huge proponent of that, so appreciate it. Any additional presenters? Okay. For that, if you'll step back, we will open up the public testimony for Senate Bill 163. Assembly Bill 163. I almost did it.
Good morning. Barry Cole, B-A-R-R-Y-C-O-L-E, in support of AB 163. As a psychiatrist, this is exactly what I've been dealing with for most of my career. Acutely, there is acute stress response, which includes everything, including dissociation. I mean, just loss of reality testing. Over time, it moves more to post-traumatic stress disorder. So depression, sleep issues, anxiety, being fearful in the workplace, all of these are possible. Hopefully 160 hours in 1 year would be enough. I was trying to think in a therapy environment, if I saw somebody twice a week for a year, that's 104 hours. So the 160 seems to be generous enough, and that's a 1 year, but it doesn't say it can't renew. So I think that this is an adequate starting point, and I hope you'll support AB 163.
Thank you. We ready here? Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Yvette Aldava, a state of Nevada licensed social worker, as well as pursuing my clinical licensure hours in social work at Red Rock Psychological Health. 4 years ago, my world flipped upside down. You see, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and a single mother of 2 daughters. I'm not supposed to be here. Sorry. But I'm here today because in 2017, SB 361 established the employee protections for victim survivors of domestic violence. These provisions allowed me to take the time to attend to court hearings, meetings with my attorney, and therapy sessions. I don't know what would have happened if I wasn't afforded those opportunities and the reassurance that I wouldn't be penalized at work and risk losing my job. Today, I help survivors of sexual violence with their healing journey. Often, they report difficulty with their employer requesting to take time off to attend matters related to their case or their therapy appointments. They are left to choose, and maintaining financial security is a critical component of their survival and reduce risks of future victimization. Survivors shouldn't have to continue to live in fear. The fear of losing their job should not be one of them. They are fighting every day to heal from the trauma they've endured. Healing does not happen overnight. It requires commitment. And today, I ask for your commitment for survivors of sexual violence to reclaim their lives by supporting AB 163. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your courage. I see someone at the table in Las Vegas.
Yes. My name is Al Rojas again. I live in Assembly District 12. As I said previously in my previous testimony, I'm a crusader for reducing crime in our communities, crime in our schools, and homelessness. I've been doing some research on the problem with homelessness, and a lot of it has to do with people losing their jobs. And a lot of it, a major component, is women who are violated sexually. They end up homeless, they end up on the streets to extreme cases. And a lot of the problem is that they don't have the proper therapy or the proper support from the law to keep their job and fight back, basically. And obviously the person who testified in conjunction with the Assemblywoman outlined very specifically the process that happens where children get involved, get mentally disturbed, and they need therapy. The mom needs therapy. The house is broken. Many times a woman has to go find a place to stay apart from the predator. And maybe even the men. Some men also get sexually harassed. I mean, that was spoken at another event. So I do believe that we need something like this. It's going to reduce homelessness. It's going to reduce violence in schools. It's going to reduce violence in the streets. And I'm surprised that we don't even have anything like that now. So I encourage the committee to look into that and see how it's going to reduce homelessness and crime in our schools and get therapy even for children, because we do need therapy from K through 12. From what I'm hearing, there's just too much violence in the schools. We can't have our teachers be therapists and be educators at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? BPS, do we have anyone on the phones in support?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Amber Falgout, AMBER FALGOUT. I am the Northern Nevada Manager with Battleborn Progress. I am here today to show our support for Assembly Bill 163. As a survivor of sexual assault and also domestic violence, I know all too well how time-consuming doctor's appointments, court visits, and therapy appointments can be. This bill helps survivors make sure they are able to address the trauma they have experienced without being in fear of losing their employment or incurring significant financial costs due to not being able to work. Survivors should not be concerned that they will lose their jobs or that there will be retribution from their employers for taking time to see the doctor, going to the therapist, or attending a court hearing related to the incident that they have experienced. Thank you to Assemblywoman Gonzalez for leading this bill and standing up for all survivors of sexual trauma. We urge the committee to pass AB 163. Thank you all for your time and consideration today.
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. So we'll move now to those in opposition. Anyone in opposition here in Carson City? Don't see anyone moving to the table. BPS, anyone on the phone lines?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. So we'll move now to neutral.
Good morning, Chair. Brett Harris, Nevada Labor Commissioner. For the record, we do the enforcement for this statute, so I just wanted to be here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Committee questions, Commissioner? Okay. Thank you. Well, let me. I have one, and I know one of the things that I think Senator Scheibel asked about making sure that employers know and employees know. Is there anything that you all do in conjunction with some of the other commissioners that looks like a PSA, where you can talk about it? If this is happening to you, this is where you can go, or this is the information. And the other thing I would ask is there any way to put this on maybe the front page of your website or something, so that people don't have to fish around to find the information? And if you do a PSA, it doesn't have to be TV. Could be with some of the radio stations or what have you, even on social media. So I'm just trying to think of ways to maximize the exposure of this opportunity for those who are victims of sexual assault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brett Harris, Nevada Labor Commissioner. For the record, we don't currently do anything. One idea that I had in seeing this bill come along is perhaps doing some sort of letter, maybe in conjunction with prosecutor's office, so that they can make victims aware.
Okay, sounds good. And social media would probably work too. Just trying to think about a way. One of the things that I think we have to brace ourselves for, and that is the good news is we get the Super Bowl in 2024. The bad news is sometimes that escalates domestic violence too. So I'm just thinking of ways to make sure that the message is out there before that time, and that people are fully aware of the employees are fully aware of their options, and to make sure that employers understand the consequences thereof.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will do that.
Thank you. Anyone else neutral? Assemblywoman, you want to closing comments? No closing comments? Okay. So with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 163. And that's all the bills that we have today. We will not be meeting on Friday, but we'll come back again on Monday. and want to thank everybody for coming here. And
I have a public comment,
we have,
ma'am.
yeah, just a minute, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
And so we're going to be back here on Monday, and it'll be 8 o'clock Monday morning. We'll move now to public testimony, public comment, and a reminder to anyone who wants to testify in public comment, we do not talk about any bills that we've heard today. And it's things that are extraneous, no reference to the bills, no alluding to the bills. It's strictly about something other than what we did today. So let me see if BPS, is there anyone on the phones?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anyone up here. I'll go down to Las Vegas.
Yes, thank you, Senator Spearman. Can I make a comment on a separate bill that was not heard today, or can I just make it as a general statement?
If you just make a general statement.
Okay, I wanted to bring.
And we have 2
attention
minutes.
to, okay, my name is Al Rojas. I live in Assembly District 12. I wanted to bring to the attention to your committee, since you guys will be looking at rent control. There's a rent control bill. There's some ideas out there where developers will be tax exempt for 15 years on raising. They could raise the rents to any limit they want, but other homeowners can't. And I consider that to be segregation. That's a strong word. You are limiting anybody who supports any kind of agenda like that is limiting people who are renters to not be able to rent a home that's less than 15 years old, and the developers who develop that property are going to jack up the rents on the 14th year. It's segregation, and it's going to run down our communities. Okay, I would think that rent control might work in a limited region with an 8 to 10% cap, and that, in addition, if you do any repairs, that you would be able to depreciate that. So I am not in support of rent control, especially giving exempt status to these developers that are actually causing the problem. It's causing segregation, and I think that you ought to be looking at the testimonies very closely, especially the one that I liked was the one from Senator Stone, which he's talking a lot of sense. And I don't think that whoever did this bill or whoever is doing these bills is doing the research on how rent control is affected in other states and how it's not really helped the community at all. So let's not do segregation. Let's consider that. And thank you for listening to me.
I don't see anyone else moving to the table in Las Vegas. No one's moving here. And so with that, I'd like to thank you all for participating. It's, 163 is a tough subject, but I thank all of you who participated, and this is only the beginning, okay? And with that, we're adjourned. See you here Monday morning at 8 o'clock.